Hey everybody, so this week's theme for Muay Thai is the jab. So the jab is probably the most important tool to develop to a high level because it sets everything up. It is the technique. Like some people are good at like doing damage with the jab, but a jab is really there to set everything else up. If you have a sneaky jab, you can get it lightning fast and they won't even see it coming. So we're gonna have a bunch of drills, techniques, counters, follow-ups from the jab. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so our next topic when we're using strikes is before you even pick your strike for your jab, you kind of have to pick a guard, which one you want to use. So I'll talk about a couple. So the standard one we use is elbows tight, underneath my eyebrow. So my thumb is touching my eyebrow, that's how far it is, and this one's here in front. So it's like a closed guard. This one's pretty standard for boxing and everything. I can fire it up from here, that's no problem. If I have a low guard like MMA, I need to fire my jab like up the middle more. Instead of straight, it's more of like a prodding jab like that. And if I have a high guard, I need to make a lot of space. So if he's in real close, a high guard, I might miss, so I have to use my range for a high guard. Okay? If I have an open guard, I just pop it. So you really need to think about what guard you're using for your striking system. Here at TMAC, we train MMA people, we have some boxers, we have Muay Thai, we have a little bit of everything. So I'm a little bit more open when it comes to guards, but if you want to compete in Muay Thai, you should have a nice tight guard. If you're competing in MMA, you should be always using your guard like this. And if you're a Berkeley style high guard, you need to train like this, okay? So I want you to use every method, like every guard for the rest of this video. So go through it once with a standard guard, go through it again with an open guard, an MMA guard, or a Berkeley high guard, okay? So you can use any one of these guards for the rest of the video. Thank you very much. Okay, so now this section we gotta talk about types of jabs. So people just think a jab is just your lead hand, but there's many types of jabs. So let's get into everything on this pad here. So first one, back up just a little bit, stationary jab. So that means it's like more of a beginner technique. I'm not moving, my hands are up, I just pop my jab. So there's no body, nothing here. I just kind of find my range. That's learning my distancing. So if she steps back a little bit, I move in, stationary, nice and tight. So that's our first type of jab, just a stationary jab. Okay. So the next one is our long jab. So it's kind of the same thing as the stationary jab, but now I'm going to lean a little bit and pop my shoulder. So now it's a range thing. So now I'm a little bit, not quite in kicking range, but I'm a little bit longer than the static jab. I'm a long jab, so I really lean in, and it hides my face. Stationary jab, I was more square. A long jab, I'm a little bit leaning into it. It could open up this line here, but we have options for everything. Okay, so our next one is our advancing jab. So if I'm here, she steps back, I'm gonna just step forward my lead foot and back. She steps back out. I just use my front foot only, find my range, pop, and I'm back. So advancing jab. Okay, so on the same token, we can have a retreating jab. So she's stationary here, and now she's gonna come at me. I step back, jab. Step back, jab. As my foot touches the ground, I'm jabbing with this hand. Okay. Our next type of jab is very useful. It's a double jab. 1, 2. So I hit it, I come halfway, and I bring it back out. And the same thing with this double jab, you can do it stationary, you can do it reverse, you can do it advancing, we'll go advancing, so step back, come forward, angling out. Okay, so those are just a few types of jabs. Another one we could do is a low jab. So hands are guard up here, I hit nice and low. We're gonna start using this when we do the counter section, so just a nice low jab. Okay, and our last jab we're going to cover for today is just an exploring lead hand. So it's kind of a jab. So she's holding Thai pads or something. I'm just going to use it to find my range. So I'm moving around right there. She gets a little bit closer. Sometimes I use that exploring jab on the head so I know my range for my follow-ups. Okay, so I want you to play with all those different types of jabs and see you in the next section. Okay, so a little bit of jab basics is next. So we're just going to use the advancing jab for an example. So just to move back up a little bit. So I step forward and I throw my jab. Now how do I throw my jab? So there's a couple methods that I like, and I'll show you my favorite. So I step out, my thumb stays up to the roof as long as possible, and the last second, corkscrews in. What that does is it stops, if I just go kind of like a standard high, my elbow flares. So I like this one a lot because it keeps my elbow nice and tight. So back up a little bit. So as soon as I land like this, my jab's going out, my thumb stays up. At the last second, it corkscrews in and get the power. See my shoulder? It's protecting my jaw. My other hand, I'm just putting it down so you guys can see what I'm saying, but I'm covering here too. So again, thumb up, straight, last second, turn it over to get our jab. Okay, so we'll stick with that one, but there is like a standard, just like rough style jab, knuckles down, elbow out, more old school. Depends on the day, depends how technical you feel, but you can kind of play with both technical jab or kind of just an old school open, popping the knuckles in there. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do some combo training with the jab. So it's exactly what it's, I'll go on this side here. So exactly what it sounds like. I'm just going to find ways to train my jab. So after I know my jab down pat, I have my range, I know what I can do to hit it. What can we do to rep it up? So I like one and double one. So I go one, then double. One, double one. Double jab. So she can call it out, she can hide it. One. One. Two. 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 One. Two. Like that. So that is the best way, once you have your jab down, to train it to get some reps. So on the same token, we have another training method. It's holding the jab at random heights and depths. So she's just going to hold her hands down and she's just going to show me a jab. High jab. Whoa. Whoa. It's still the same thing, so it just gets your reactions a little bit tighter. Okay, so play with those and let me know how it goes. Next section, we're going to cover follow-ups. So again, we'll switch sides. A jab can literally lead to every technique a lot easier than other things. So, because it's such a long technique. So she goes like this. I can have any technique I want as a follow-up. It's just now you see it develop. If you're in the basic classes, you got to learn everyone separately. But then after a while, intermediate events, you pick your personal favorites and you rep those up. So for example, the most common one ever, jab, cross. Find your range, jab, cross. Then after you have that, she can step back off your jab, and it's going to lead to a swing kick. Or rear knee. Low kick. Jab to tee. jab overhand. Doesn't matter. All you have to do is pick one other technique and find a method. Even off the same hand, we go jab, elbow one. You gotta be able to have every other technique as a follow-up to your jab and develop to a high level. Okay? Thank you. In this next section, we're gonna cover countering the jab. So our most basic one, we'll just do everything stationary for now. She's gonna put it in my face, the jab. And now the easiest one I like to start with is a slip. So I take my left ear, I bring it outside. I want her, stick it out. I move my head offline. I want her jab to be skimming my ear. So that way I'm not too far. Because then you don't know where you are. I like tracing the body as much as possible. So I slip, she brings her hand back, and I can fire a counter. So again, I slip, counter. And at the same thing, we have a slip and rip. So she goes here. I can slip and at the same time fire my jab. Step back. So I can just slip or slip and rip. Okay, next one. Nice tight guard is parry. So she's aiming for my nose again. And what happens, I'm going to move my head this direction, and my parry is going to bring her hand in the other direction. Just a little bit, yeah. So if say I let my hand go, same idea. She's going to be skimming my head, not my hitting me in the face. Just tap. I like using the bottom part of my hand. So then you have follow-ups like that. You can just come up with a bunch. So the next one we're going to cover is a T. So she gives me the jab. So I know maybe she has to do an advancing to reach me because I'm a lot taller. She has to do an advancing jab. So she comes, I counter it with like that. So after a while, you can see things, you can see patterns. So I know every time she needs to strike me, she needs to step in. I just lean back, hit my key. Take the key. So on the same token, we can counter using a lot of lower body techniques again, following up off her teeth. She gives me the jab, I go inside, body kick. When I go inside, I have to monitor her rear hand, so I make sure my head's on the outside. Nice body kick. Okay. Another one I really like is I like leaning, following back up with an overhand. So she goes here, I lean, follow up with the right hand, overhand. Lean, boom. Especially when you have your opponent's range down, these things get a little bit easier. Step back, just a little one. Lean, overhand right. You just lean off of it. One, right there. Okay? Next section, training methods. So once you have your jab down, you got some pads going there, you need partner drills. So the one we like a lot here is, I learned from my instructor, Phil, is a triple jab drill. So she starts, I have a jab, and then she finishes. Then it'll be my side. I have a jab, she has a jab, then I have a jab. And we just go back and forth. And we'll just start with a basic parry. She goes first. 1, 2, 3. So that's her rotation. Now it's mine. First turn. And that gives you a drill that's kind of like sparring, but not quite, so you can really find things out of it. So for example, we have a couple drills. I'll go. So if I start, I finish, and then I can have a follow-up. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Look at that. So again, 1, 2, 1, 2. Again, we can go back to our follow-up section and pick any one, and now do it off of motion. So I'll do the low kick. I'll do a rear knee. Inside kick. You can find any technique we did in the follow-up section, now doing it off of motion. Okay, well that's the next phase of developing your jab with follow-ups. All right, next part. Once you go through all those training methods, you've done some partner drills, you feel comfortable with more timing, then you have to learn how to spar with your techniques. So what I recommend is just telling your partners, this nice slow sparring, timing sparring, I'm going to try to land the jab. And it's actually harder than it seems because the person's moving around. So we're going to move around. I'm just going to touch your glove for now. And then she's maybe jabbing me at the same time, so I got to work on my offense and my defense. So I would recommend doing a bunch of rounds like that, just trying to land your jab and some counters to her jab. So again, we'll do it a little bit. So we'll go next and slow. I'm gonna try to land, she's gonna try to hit me more. So I'm gonna try here, boom, parry. Boom, parry again. Top, T. I'm just gonna try to land my low jab. Boom, overhand, jab, body kick. So you gotta start adding as many things you can for the person moving around and being a little bit more resistant. Okay, so in the next part is when you're getting a little bit better at sparring, you gotta learn how to fake your motions. So I will use a double jab, for example. Now, once people realize you have a really good jab and you land it a couple times, they're gonna start biting on it. So maybe in the first round, I landed it. She's like, oh man, I hate this jab. But now I gotta learn how to land other stuff. So first one I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a double jab. Just come a little closer. I'm gonna let her parry. And see that? I knew she bit out her hard there. I know she's falling for it. So now I'm gonna go halfway. See how her hand went for it? I go over top and I land my other jab. Boom. So don't go right to it. Land your jab, and once they start falling for it, like biting on it, that's when you know you have it. Now, on the same token, you can have your hand in a nice chamber position and just fake the first jab. So we'll go on this side. So in the first round again, whatever we're doing, I landed it. I kept landing it, and she hates it. Now she's just gonna bite on it every time I flicker it. So now I'm just gonna use a shoulder feint. And see how she kind of went for it? Pop, right down the middle. Okay? You gotta learn how to fake and feint your way in to land your jabs also, okay? So I want you to play with that in your next sparring session also. Thank you. And the last thing for sparring is learning how to land your follow-ups. So again, we go back to our example. I'm landing my jab anytime I want. She starts falling for it, but I can land it at will anytime I want. So I gotta learn how to put other things up. So if I'm jabbing and she starts just covering, her hands go up, I go low kick. Her hands go up, boom. I go for a low jab, she goes for a low forearm, hook. If I know she's biting on a certain direction, I gotta come up with a game plan to do that counter. So she does a forehand pat on this side, overhand. She does a slip. Anything, I gotta find follow-ups. Once I land a technique and it lands, I gotta find follow-ups. And if I land and she counters, I gotta find follow-ups off of that. Okay? So that's the ways you should use the jab in sparring. Thank you. So again, this week's theme was the jab. It's probably one of the most underrated, underused techniques in all of, especially MMA. Muay Thai you see a little more, boxing you see it a lot, but I want you to watch people like GSP. GSP is a master of the jab, setting things up, getting people to bite, finding takedowns, landing strikes. Okay? So I really want you to do a lot of research on people who have good jabs and see who you come up with and see who fits your personal style. Okay? Thank you very much.